Hello, I assume you are my reviewer and you're probably also taking the course Human Factors in AI to finalize the specialization. So let's jump right into it. Let's start quickly with the introduction of the problems. Of the problem, it's about employees leaving the company, and this is actually a pretty huge loss, also financial loss, because a rule of thumb is that if an employee leaves, basically, if he's not very easily replaceable, you can assume something like one annual salary as a loss to the company. So just to give you an idea of the numbers here, for a mid-sized company with 10,000 employees earning 70K per year with a 10% turnover, that would already be 70 million. So it would be really great to not have human judgment to tackle these costs, or how to the possible cost reduction here, but to actually have a data-driven approach to identify factors that are relevant here. So who would use such an application? Probably would be HR analysts and HR managers, which then should basically trigger two functions. On the one hand, you want to plan for the coming year, because you need to know how many people will leave, and it's good to have a obviously data-driven approach here, so that you can actually plan hiring early and avoid staff shortage. Further, if you have a highly interpretable and transparent model like a logistic regression, you actually have factors from which you can learn why people are leaving the company, and you could then plan targeted campaigns or actions for problematic groups of employees, because let's face it, one more yoga course won't really cut it here and make the employees stay. So how would the user then interact with the solution? It's probably not something that you need to run daily. It's rather something that needs to run every quarter, like every 3 months. The user has to prepare and distribute some information. It needs basically every 3 months to make a prediction how many people will leave in certain business units, and how many people will you need there in the next year. And you probably want to have then the root causes or the factors in the coefficients of the regression model that would run in the background, and also evaluate them maybe over time. So what the user just would supply is he would need to trigger the retraining of the model, which is not computationally very demanding. He then would also to scope it to time and business units. When it comes to transparency, I would propose here a regularized weighted logistic regression. You certainly don't want to put there a neural network, because you want an interpretable model, and a regression is great there. And when it comes to the communication of uncertainty, for the coefficients of this regression, you could just give the statistical error of the coefficients. So in the style, the coefficient for payment is X plus minus Y. When it comes to the predictions, how many employees you don't want to say 11 sales representatives in business unit ABC will leave. You rather want to give a prediction range of around 10 to 12 people will leave there, and this gives an estimate. What is actually it is only. When it comes to privacy considerations, well, we process highly sensitive employee data. There are some things, like examples would be the job function or the salary, but also could be, depending on what's allowed, depending on what you have available, age, gender, civil status, project data about working hours. And you certainly need to use a GDPR, at least if you are in a multinational company. So employees need to be informed about the new data processing, and there should be a right to withdraw, and also as a right to be forgotten applies for former employees. About ethical considerations, well, there are plenty, because you have highly sensitive informations like the civil status or the gender. If the employees have children, all this can influence the risk of employees leaving. And in particular, if you then drive actions based on this, you know, well, everyone kind of knows or has maybe a gut feeling that, yeah, a married person is less likely to leave a company. A person that has children is less likely to leave the company. Now, if you perform actions like, yeah, people that are at risk of leaving should get a raise. This basically would neglect families here. And if you just blindly apply this approach, you basically create a more family unfriendly environment. So you probably would want to include some quotas if you derive actions from such a model. So if you give employees that are at risk leaving a rise, you should also give a fair share of married people with children a rise. And when it comes to model and accountability, well, this should be possible because, yeah, you have a highly interpretable model. Thanks.